Principles Show daily podcast by and for you.
All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. We're going to be looking at Brazil,
Okay.
but not for the reasons you might think. We're not talking about
the rainforests,
the Amazon or
not the beaches,
the beautiful beaches. We're talking about the economy,
the economy.
and in particular, the tourism industry in Brazil.
It's really fascinating.
So to do that, we're going to be looking at an article from the BRICS joint website.
That's BRICS.
Yeah, that's the major emerging economies.
Exactly.
And this is an article that caught our eye, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The title of the article is
Hit me with it.
Brazil Tourism Boom. 76,000 temporary jobs expected.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And we're talking 76,500 to be exact.
And they're expecting all these jobs to come about just for the upcoming high season?
Just for high season, the most since 2015.
So that really begs the question, what's driving this incredible demand?
Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out.
All right, let's dive in.
And along the way, we should probably mention that the projected revenue just for this high season
Oh, yeah.
is a whopping 157.74 billion.
Reais. Reais is the Brazilian currency.
Yeah, that's right. The Brazilian currency.
Just for context.
Yeah, so some pretty big numbers being thrown around here.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, we're talking about a huge influx of cash into the Brazilian economy.
Right.
But I think maybe it's helpful if we kind of take a step back and think about what this means for the everyday person in Brazil.
Absolutely.
Like when we say high season, what does that actually look like?
Well, think about it this way. It's October through January in Brazil.
Okay.
Sun is shining. Tourists are flocking to this beautiful country.
Beaches.
It's all hands on deck
Yeah.
for everyone in the tourism industry. Hotels are packed. Restaurants are buzzing. Transportation services are in high demand. This is high season in Brazil, and it's a prime time for those temporary job opportunities.
Okay, so it's kind of like a massive job fair specifically for tourism.
You could say that.
What kind of roles are we talking about here? I mean, is it just your typical hotel staff and tour guides?
It's actually much more diverse than you might think.
Really?
You have, of course, your hotel staff, your restaurant staff, your tour guides.
Sure.
But the food industry alone is expecting to add over 54,000 jobs.
Wow.
Transportation is also seeing a significant boost with over 10,000 new positions.
So probably like drivers and pilots and all the support staff for the airports.
Precisely. And then you've got accommodation adding close to 8,400 jobs.
So that's like your housekeeping, your front desk, all those hospitality roles.
Exactly.
Wow. So it sounds like pretty much every part of the economy gets some kind of a boost from this influx of tourists.
It's true.
It's not just beaches and carnival anymore.
Not at all.
Are there any other industries benefiting that we haven't even touched on?
Well, I mean, think about it. Tourists need to eat, they need to sleep, they need to get around, and they're probably going to do a little shopping while they're at it.
Of course, retail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got agriculture supplying food manufacturing, providing all the souvenirs and goods,
Yeah.
retail outlets seeing increased sales, and even local artisans and craftspeople getting a piece of the pie.
So it's like this tourism boom is acting as a catalyst
Yeah.
for growth across all these different industries.
Yeah.
It's not just those people directly employed in the tourism sector.
Right.
It's that ripple effect
The ripple effect.
that stimulates demand
Exactly.
and creates jobs in seemingly unrelated sectors.
It's all connected.
That's pretty impressive.
It really is.
And, we're talking about all these temporary jobs,
Yeah.
which is great for seasonal income.
Mm-hmm.
But are there any long-term benefits for Brazilians beyond just this high season rush?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, are these jobs just a fleeting opportunity or is there something more to it?
Well, what's really fascinating is that this isn't just a flash in the pan. The Brazilian Temporary Work Association projects a whopping 450,000
Wow.
temporary vacancies just for the last quarter of 2024.
Okay.
And get this, 35% of those are expected to be in the services sector.
And that includes a big chunk of tourism.
A big chunk of tourism, exactly.
So we're talking about sustained growth in this industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got temporary jobs galore,
Uh-huh.
a massive injection of revenue into the economy,
Right.
and signs pointing towards long-term growth in the tourism sector.
It's looking good.
But what does this mean for the average Brazilian worker
Yeah.
who's hoping to snag one of these jobs?
Yeah.
Do they need specialized skills?
That's where the Brazilian government has been really proactive.
Oh.
They've recognized the importance of having a skilled workforce
Makes sense.
to support this booming industry. So the Ministry of Tourism is actually offering qualification courses
Really?
specifically designed to prepare people for these roles.
That's great.
It's fantastic. They understand that investing in their people is going to lead to a more robust and competitive tourism sector.
Yeah, that's smart. So they're trying to get ahead of it and make sure people are ready for these jobs.
Exactly.
That's great news. And for our listeners who are interested in learning more about these courses, you can find all the information on the Ministry of Tourism's website.
Easy to find.
Yeah. So we've talked about the positive impacts
Right.
of this tourism boom on the economy and the job market.
Uh-huh.
But what about the other side of the coin? Are there any potential downsides to this rapid growth in tourism?
Well, you can't have this kind of explosive growth without considering some of the challenges that come with it.
Sure.
One area of concern is the potential for increased inequality.
Right, because not everybody benefits equally from these kinds of economic booms.
Exactly. While many Brazilians are finding new jobs and enjoying those higher incomes, there's a risk that the wealth generated by tourism might not be evenly distributed throughout society.
So while the overall picture looks pretty rosy, it's important to remember there are nuances to this success story.
Oh.
And ensuring that everybody benefits is going to be crucial for long-term sustainability.
Could not agree more.
Yeah, so we've got to be mindful of that as we move forward.
For sure.
All right, so we've touched on some of the economic implications,
Yes.
but now I think we need to dive into some of the other potential impacts of this tourism boom.
Let's do it.
Like, how is this going to affect Brazil's environment and its culture?
All right, let's get into it. #TTS, the deep dive episode 2024-11-15, part 2 of 3. I mean, it's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Making sure everyone benefits.
Right.
And then on top of that, there's the environmental impact to consider.
Of course.
I mean, Brazil is known for its natural beauty.
Absolutely.
So with more tourists coming in, that puts more pressure on these ecosystems.
That makes sense. More people inevitably means a larger footprint.
Right.
So how is Brazil addressing that potential strain on its natural resources?
Well, awareness is a good first step.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there's a growing movement towards sustainable tourism practices in Brazil.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So the government's working with a lot of organizations and local communities to promote eco-friendly tourism,
Okay.
preserve biodiversity, and try to minimize those negative impacts.
So it sounds like they're not just focused on economic gains.
Right.
They're trying to find that balance
It
between
was-
growth and preservation.
Yeah, and it's not just about protecting the environment.
Right.
It's also about preserving Brazil's cultural heritage.
Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
With so many tourists coming in, there's always that risk of kind of diluting local traditions or even commercializing those cultural experiences.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Tourism can bring a much-needed revenue and exposure to those local cultures,
Sure.
but it can also lead to a loss of authenticity if it's not managed carefully.
Exactly. You've
Yeah.
got to find that sweet spot
Right.
where tourism enhances culture rather than exploiting it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so going back to those impressive job numbers,
Mhm.
do you think this surge in tourism is creating a pathway for people to move from temporary positions to more permanent roles?
I think it's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
The experience that people gain during high season can be really valuable
Right.
for those looking to build a career in tourism.
So it's like a stepping stone.
Exactly.
You get your foot in the door, gain some experience, and then potentially transition into something more long-term.
And those qualification courses offered by the Ministry of Tourism,
Yeah.
they're going to play a crucial role in giving people the skills they need to really excel in those roles.
It's like they're creating a pipeline of talent
Yeah,
to ensure a sustainable workforce for the future.
exactly.
But let's zoom out a bit
Okay.
and look at the global picture. How is this tourism boom positioning Brazil on the world stage?
I mean, it's definitely putting Brazil back on the map as a top tourist destination.
Yeah.
The country has always been known for its beauty, its culture, its hospitality.
Right.
But now with this economic surge, it's attracting even more attention.
From international travelers and investors.
Exactly.
So they're not just competing with other destinations.
Yeah,
They're setting a new standard
absolutely.
for what a thriving tourism industry can look like.
And it's not just about attracting more tourists. It's
Yeah.
about attracting the right kind of tourism.
Sustainable, responsible,
Right.
culturally sensitive tourism.
Exactly. The kind of tourism that benefits everyone.
It's really fascinating how this one industry
Yeah.
can have this ripple effect,
It's true.
impacting everything from the economy and the job market to the environment and the culture.
It's a testament to the transformative power of tourism.
Yeah, and it's not just about statistics and economic indicators.
No.
It's about the human stories
The humans.
behind those numbers.
Right.
It's about the families
Exactly.
whose lives are being impacted by these new jobs,
The local artisans whose crafts are reaching a global audience.
and the communities who are sharing their traditions with the world.
It's really quite beautiful.
It's about people connecting with each other, experiencing new cultures,
Yeah.
and creating those memories that last a lifetime.
I love that.
Speaking of human connections,
Yeah.
I'm curious about the cultural exchange happening between Brazilian locals and international tourists.
Oh, that's interesting.
How is this influx of visitors impacting the cultural landscape of Brazil?
Well, cultural exchange is a natural part of tourism.
Sure.
And it can be both enriching and challenging.
In what way?
Well, on the one hand, it exposes Brazilians to new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of life.
Right.
It broadens their horizons.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
it's important to make sure that this exchange happens in a way that respects local traditions.
Right. You don't want to lose that.
Exactly. You don't want to lead to the homogenization or the commercialization of culture.
So finding that balance between embracing new influences
Right.
while also preserving that unique cultural identity.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah. And it requires careful planning.
Absolutely.
Community involvement
Mhm.
and a commitment to promoting those authentic cultural experiences.
And you know what it's about? Showcasing the real Brazil,
Yeah.
the one beyond the stereotypes.
Right.
And fostering those genuine connections between people from different backgrounds.
I like that. And what about those visitors?
Mhm.
Are they just coming for the beaches and the carnival?
Well, sure, those are big draws.
Of course.
But there's also a growing segment of tourists who are interested in experiencing Brazil beyond those typical hotspots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're seeking out those off-the-beaten-path destinations,
Interesting.
immersing themselves in local communities,
Yeah.
learning about the country's history, its diverse cultures.
So it's not just about ticking things off a bucket list.
It's about engaging with the destination on a deeper level.
Right. Seeking out those authentic experiences.
Exactly. Connecting with local people, learning about their traditions, and contributing to the local economy.
So it sounds like a win-win.
It is.
Tourists get a richer, more fulfilling experience. And local communities benefit from those economic opportunities and that cultural exchange.
Exactly. And the shift towards more conscious and responsible tourism,
Yeah.
it's a trend we're seeing globally.
Really?
People are becoming more aware of the impact their travels have.
Makes sense.
And they're seeking out experiences that align with their values.
So as more people embrace these values,
Yes.
it creates demand for more sustainable and ethical tourism practices,
Exactly.
which encourages destinations to prioritize those aspects.
Absolutely. And that's where Brazil has a real opportunity to shine.
Yeah, with its commitment to sustainable tourism, its efforts to preserve its natural and cultural heritage,
Right.
and that focus on those authentic experiences.
It has the potential to become a global leader
Wow.
in responsible tourism.
So we've gone from a surprising statistic about temporary jobs
Yeah.
to this deep dive into all these different implications.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. It really highlights how interconnected everything is. How one seemingly isolated event can have these ripple effects.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that the world is this complex and dynamic system.
It is.
And even something as simple as choosing a travel destination
Yeah.
can have a profound impact
Yeah.
on people, cultures, and the environment.
Yeah.
Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2024-11-15, part 3 of 3.
Yeah, it really is amazing to see how it's all connected
It is.
from that initial spark about these temporary jobs.
Yeah.
We've gone into the economic, the environmental,
Right.
the cultural, and even global implications
Yeah.
of this tourism boom in Brazil.
And that's what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
We get to go beyond just the surface and really
Yeah.
try to understand all the different angles.
Exactly. We've moved past just throwing out facts and figures.
Right.
We've really explored how this tourism growth is creating opportunities for Brazilians, the potential impacts on the environment and the culture,
Yeah.
and even Brazil's place on the world stage when it comes to tourism. And we've talked about the people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the lives.
The human stories.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, I want to circle back to that article
Oh, yeah.
that started all of this,
Mm-hmm.
Brazil tourism boom. 76,000 temporary jobs expected from the BRICS joint website.
It's amazing how much we were able to unpack just from that one headline.
Right. It really just shows the power of asking why.
Yeah.
We didn't just accept those job numbers.
No, we dug deeper.
We wanted to know what was behind them and what they might mean for the future.
And we uncovered a lot.
We did economic expansion,
Yeah.
sustainable development, cultural exchange.
It's a story that's still unfolding.
It really is, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah.
So as we conclude our deep dive into Brazil's tourism industry,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope our listeners will remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that tourism, it's not just about leisure.
Right.
It's a force that can shape economies, environments, and even entire cultures.
And, as we saw with Brazil, it can be a force for good.
If it's done right.
Exactly, when it's approached thoughtfully and responsibly.
Yeah.
Well said. And to our listeners, I hope this has made you a little bit more curious about Brazil
Yeah.
and about the impact of tourism around the world.
It's a fascinating industry.
It is. It's a reminder that there are amazing stories everywhere.
Absolutely.
And sometimes all it takes is one question
One question.
to start you on a journey of discovery.
That's right.
So keep exploring, keep asking those questions.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next big story.
You never know.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into Brazil's tourism boom.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep exploring.